Welcome to the Prophecy Club. It is 8:25 Tuesday evening, and I just watched Donald Trump give his talk after having been arraigned and arrested this morning. And I'm not going to do a lot of comment on the other. I've got so much other things to cover, I've got to just cover them. But we'll continue to watch that and see what's coming up. So anyway, today we're going to be talking about cash no more, oil prices up, and so many other things. I've got so much to say. I'm going to rip and roar, and then when time runs out, we'll try to finish it tomorrow. So many things that happen in so many places like I've never seen in my 30 or 40 years in Bible prophecy. All right, so anyway, European Union is in danger of criminalizing the use of physical cash with its new anti-money laundering laws. Now, I know what you're saying. You're saying, yeah, well, that's the European Union. Okay, well, since we know that we're coming to a world government, perhaps you've been hearing, many people are saying the word New World Order again, like we haven't heard since the days of George Bush Sr. And they're saying that this New World Order is basically when the dollar falls, the dollar is no longer the reserve currency of the world, and that brings in a new world order, a world order based upon a new currency, a new setup. So this article goes on to say, the EU appears to be pushing for the criminalization of the use of physical cash with its new anti-money laws. Now, if they're doing it in the EU, that's telling us that they also plan to do it here. Look, the EU didn't come up with this. Your Federal Reserve, and that's who came up with it. These are the people that have, according to Benjamin Fulford, been ruling the planet for thousands of years, and we'll destroy it rather than give it up. And if they're doing it at the EU, it's just a matter of time until they take it global. So the European Parliament, however, has now voted for such a proposed limit to be dropped down to as little as $7,000. As part of efforts to clamp down on money laundering and tax dodging. No, that's not what it is. So that no man might buy or sell save he hath the mark of the name of the beast. We know that. Cryptocurrency transactions pay for goods and services that are valued over $1,000 to be banned. Dr. Bett warns that the limits on cash payments now appear to have gone too far. He rejected the Parliament's call for cash transactions to be curtailed. So, what they're saying is that there's a time coming when you're not going to be used coin or paper money anyplace. Biden admits using indictments against Trump to, quote, to make sure he does not become president. Now, I'm going to tell you what he says, and then we're actually going to play a clip of Biden actually saying it. We just have to demonstrate that he will not take power, if he does not run, making sure he, under legitimate efforts of our Constitution, that he does not become the next president. So they're not trying to eliminate him by a voting ballot. They're trying to eliminate him by creepy people in corrupt positions. Here's him saying it.
We just have to demonstrate that he will not take power if he does run, making sure he, under legitimate efforts of our Constitution, does not become the next president again.
Oil jumps 7% after surprise OPEC production cuts. No, it's not surprise. They are planning this. You remember Lindsey Williams, which has now gone on to be with the Lord. He wrote a book called The Energy Non-Crisis. I read the book. I've got a copy of the book back behind me someplace. He said that one day, one of the leaders at the northern slope of Alaska, where he was ministering, said, "You want to come with me? We're going to go out and test a well today." So he jumped in the car. They took him out to the north slope of Alaska. On the way, they explained, "Chaplain, you're about to be seeing something very special today. We're going to be testing a well that just came in to see how much oil is beneath the surface. The way we do that is we let it spew for 24 hours, measuring the pressure, seeing the pressures drop at all. And this tells us, along with the other instruments they have, how much oil is there. And they were excited because 24 hours later, all of the instruments said that they had hit one of the biggest oil pools ever found, if not the largest. They estimated that one north slope of Alaska contained enough oil to provide for America for over 100 years. The next day, he was called in. Quick, come into the office. And they sat him down and they said, Pastor, you did not hear anything. You did not see anything about what we said yesterday about that oil production. And if you do, and then they made him sign all kinds of things, and he still put it into a book. So when they're saying that there is an oil shortage, no, there's not an oil shortage. It's that evil people in high places, I can't say the name of them anymore. I said it once before. I probably shouldn't have, because that's the real reason they took me off. They didn't take me off because I was breaking the rules. They took me off because I was exposing the real problem. So oil jumped 7% after OPEC cuts production costs. Russia and India adopt a new benchmark for oil and abandon European Brent crude pricing. Why? They're trying to destroy America. They're trying to bring in a world government. Prices for a barrel of oil jumped 7 to 8% last night alone. And a pre-market trading after OPEC announced a reduction in the oil production of 1.1 million barrels per day. Last night, oil hit $80 per barrel and continues to rise today. West Texas Intermediate crude jumped 5.74% up to $80 a barrel. Brent jumped up to $84 a barrel. Well, so if it went up 7% in price, guess what? That means that everything else that we buy, no, it's not going up 7%. Because let's take the truck driver. So if the truck driver has to pay 7% more for the oil, is he going to have to charge 7% more? Yes, he is. And then the people that he buys tires from, they have to charge 7% more. Then the grocery store place has to charge more than 7% because they've got to make a living. So at the end of the day, it probably means our expenses are going to be going up, not 7%, but probably in the 14 to 15% ballpark. And that's just from this one thing. So as the prophecies have told us, there's going to be a food shortage. The dollar is going to die. It'll go from 30% down to 50% down to 66% down, and finally be worthless as leaves blowing in the wind. Now, I look at how many people are viewing this. Frankly, it's hard not to get depressed. I do not understand why people do not listen to the prophets of God. They can't recognize when God is speaking. So consequently, goes right over the head. They don't listen. They don't know. So when the dollar finally reaches zero, will they start listening? When some of the prophecies that say that inflation is going to go through the roof, will they start listening then? No. They're not going to start listening until some great cataclysm hits. And a whole bunch of Americans have to die. Sad to say. Let's go on. New pricing mechanism. So the top oil producers in Russia and in India agreed to change the marketing pricing mechanism, not just prices, the mechanism that they use to price oil transactions. The largest oil producer in Russia and India's top refiner have agreed to adopt the Asia-focused Dubai oil price benchmark. What does that mean? That meant that America and America's dollar just got cut out of it. That's what Shane Warren was told back in 2010. When they start selling for oil in something other than the dollar, it's going to crash the dollar. They abandoned the European-dominated Brent benchmark. The signals are changing. This will make it much easier for countries to buy oil without using the U.S. dollar. That means that we're shortly going to become a third world country. That means everything we buy is about to be more expensive. And it may very well be that one day we wake up and let's say we had $1,000 in our account yesterday, now it's down to 700 because they just devalued the dollar by 30% overnight. The only way to avoid that I know of would be to have your money, as much as you can get out of the bank, into something like gold or silver. And if you think about doing that, we'll certainly send you to cornerstoneassetmetals.com. Doesn't mean you have to get anything today, but if you do want it pretty quick, they can help you get it pretty quick. And they can also give you some advice that I can't give you on what you should probably do. Terry Saka, Cornerstone assetmetals.com. So why should people go online or call you today?
Seymour Hersh, an amazing investigative journalist, laid out the case that the United States is the one that blew up the Nord Stream pipelines, hurting our very own allies. That is a nation that is desperate because their currency is on the verge of losing reserve status. That's not good for a United States dollar, and why we better be protected.
Terry Saka, cornerstoneassetmetals.com. Give him a call or go online today. cornerstoneassetmetals.com. They're sizzling the West bacon, and there's nothing that the West can do short of war. Now, I've already read this back in last month, but someone said something to me, got me thinking. So I want to read it again, but this time let's look at it and let's say, okay, is this perhaps talking about the falling dollar? So he says, it's worse than you thought it would be. The day began with me loading 80s style station wagon with lawn chairs and the blankets and some large coolers. My kids were younger, as in the 10 to 15 age range, and they were excited about going to a very large fireworks display close to the town we lived in. As we got closer to the fireworks, it appeared to be as large as 3 or 4 football fields, and the fireworks area was set up near an area that had been set off with barricades. The place was packed with cars and with people everywhere. In other words, life as normal. There was a bluff area that overlooked the flat ground, and we decided to pull the car up there and park. We got the blankets and the lawn chairs and the food out and began to talk about the fireworks that were about to be displayed. It appeared to be literally thousands of people excited to see the show. Could it be that thousands of people are about to be affected by the fall of the dollar? The first shots of fireworks went streaking into the air and seemed to go up forever, but there was no noise or lights. Now, in that there was no noise or lights, what if it's not talking about the physical? What if it's talking about the warnings that are going up right now about our US dollar? There was literally 2 minutes of silence. So could it be that there's going to be, say, like a bank holiday, like a few days, or as the prophecy says, a week? By the way, I I texted a friend of mine I can't tell you about. He's a banker. I can't tell you his name. I'm only going to read this. I asked him if you can confirm that this 1 week bank holiday that HalTurnerRadioShow.com said is coming. He said, it is set to happen. They will not talk about a specific week. Just said it is still set for April. I just spoke with him the hour, and he said it's not absolute. It is as close as he would provide. In other words, even the best sources we have will not deny, I'll say it that way, it's not deny it's not going to happen in April. Meaning, all this thing we're talking about may very well come in April. Another source says, well, if it doesn't come in April, look for it in August. I don't know, so we'll see. So there was literally 2 minutes of silence with everybody looking up until there was a horrific noise like a bomb going off. My family and I jumped where we sat as well as everybody else in the area. Now, what if the bomb is the banks closing? Huge flashes of light, like 100 flares, had suddenly been uncapped. Could it be that there's a lot of banks about to close? But there was also debris raining down on the people. Hot bits of on-fire sticks and paper and bigger than exploded chunks of wood. That what even seemed to be the prices of brick were hitting people, and they were screaming and running. The announcer came on and told people to remain calm, that the problem would be remedied soon. Does that sound like some kind of a banking problem? And they come on and say not to worry? I think we've been hearing that same thing this last week. The announcer came on and told people to remain calm as the problem would be remedied soon, just like they did in the last 2 weeks. Just then, another ballast of fireworks shot into the air, but they sounded more like F-16s taking off than fireworks. In other words, the banking crisis, the dollar, is about to get a whole lot worse. Remember, the Lord told me twice in the last 2 weeks, not an audible voice, but it's the voice that I could tell you several specific things He's told me that way that came to pass. I know that He's speaking to me like that. And He said, Prophecy Club's about to be in a lot of trouble. I don't think He was saying it about just Prophecy Club. I think He was trying to say that everybody in America is about to be in trouble. And they had the same effect in the air after a few minutes of silence, and they exploded like a bomb. In other words, our finances may just about explode. Now people running everywhere, and some had clothing and hats on fire, and the gathering of families and yelling out their kids' names was happening everywhere. Even some of the cars were now burning, and people were running toward the bluff where my family was. In other words, total chaos. I told the kids to leave everything and get in the car as fast as they could. There was still debris falling and burning and people screaming and running for their lives. More of the cars in the field were burning now. Could it be that that's more of people's bank accounts, more of the 401ks, more of their finances, more of their dollars, the more of their money that they had in the bank is all going bye-bye? More of the cars in the fields were burning now, and people were frantic for safety. There were people surrounding my car and beating on the sides and windows to get in, but we were packed in tight and there was no room, even though we were in a bigger car. But the crowd was dangerous, and my wife and my kids were terrified. So I maneuvered the car down to the bluff and got back on the road. So some people, Christians, that do know how to pray Psalm 23 and Psalm 91, do have a prayer closet and they know their God. Some of them are guided supernaturally by God. That was when we all realized that the whole world had changed. What did Putin and Xi just say to each other just this week? They just said changes have taken place that have not taken place in over 100 years. You know what they're talking about? They're talking about replacing the dollar, replacing America as the leader of the world. This fits. That was when we all realized that the whole world had changed financially because the dollar was removed. Houses were burning, cars along the road. In other words, they're financial houses. As a matter of fact, it reminds me of another dream Leslie had. I tell you what, I'm going to finish this. Then I'm going to pause the recording and I'm going to dig out that dream. And I will put that on after this because that fits exactly. Houses were burning. Cars along the road had been abandoned. In other words, their houses were burning, the financial houses. Their cars, their financial things are all gone financially. See, it's a financial dream. Houses were burning. Cars along the road had been abandoned, and the sky was alive with fire and darkness. Their finances fell apart. There were cars underneath overpasses appearing to be waiting it out, and people were watching the skies with great fear. See, God does talk this way. I had been trying the radio, but there was only static. I stopped and asked if anybody knew what was going on, but nobody knew anything. People were making phone calls, but the calls were not going through. In other words, they were saying, help me. I'm in a financial jam. Help me. I don't have any food. I don't have any water. I don't have a water filter. I don't. But there was no one to help. But calls weren't going through due to the volume of calls. Got back onto the road and headed home as fast as I could, and the roads were littered with trash and cars, parked and burning, trees and all over the chaos. In other words, other people's financial houses were all burning. Their cars were on fire. Their lives were on fire. Everything financially had just fallen apart. We got to the place where we lived and walked into the house and turned on the TV. There was emergency signals going on at the bottom of the screen and local numbers to report damage. The news anchor desk revealed reporters running with phones and talking quickly and other people in the room. I heard a camera guy say, "We're going live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1." And sitting at the desk was the man I'd always seen. In other words, the angel that came to him in the dreams. He was wearing a dress shirt, and looking at a clipboard. He looked directly into the camera and began reporting. "We have gotten report after report of strange occurrences at outdoor activities, and 911 calls have overwhelmed the entire nationwide system. If this is talking about finances, and I think it is, it fits. In other words, the entire dollar financial system of America goes into a tailspin. People start rioting and looting just like Shane Warren was shown, having signs that says we want our entitlements. Then a great earthquake happens. Okay, let's go on. Entire nationwide system. Many of you are aware that the chaotic events spread over the entire country have left fires and confusion on every front. And the chaotic events, financial. Let me be very clear. Now, this is the angel talking. Listen real carefully here. It is worse than you thought it would be. In other words, this financial crisis that's about to hit, just like we were warned, exactly like we were warned, is going to be worse than you thought it would be. Are you prepared? I recall one time the Lord told me any extra money in the bank that I didn't want to lose, I needed to get it out. So that's when I really started getting a little bit of gold, but mostly silver from cornerstoneassetmetals.com. I didn't have much, but we don't even have a savings account. It's just, well, I guess that's not accurate. I guess Prophecy Club kind of has one, and we set back for a rainy day. That's when I started getting a lot of silver because, again, Shane Warren was told that silver is going to skyrocket far more than gold. Now, this is a prophecy program. This is not a financial program. We're not giving you financial advice. It's worse than you thought it would be. You were warned, we were, and told that perilous times are coming, but this is worse than you thought it would be. That's the second time. Many have ignored the truth. Very true. Just like we get very few views, in my opinion, compared to how many people should be listening to what the prophets are saying. Matter of fact, I just watched Trump. I'm going to say something here. I may have to cut this out later, but I'm going to say it. I love Donald Trump. I think he is the best hope, other than Jesus, to fix America. And one of the days, I hope that me and Leslie, invited in to speak to him. I probably would not say this to him, but if he were to ask, "Stan, what's your advice?" I would say, "Donald Trump, I love you, but in my opinion, your greatest failure is not telling people to go back to church. You need to tell Christians, not the other gods, Christians, to start praying for you, your administration, and for this nation. You need to tell all people this Sunday, go to church." Next time you talk, every time you talk, last thing you say is, go to church, go back to church, turn back to Jesus. That's, I think I would say, is his greatest failure. He's trying to fix America in his own power, and he can't and won't ever be able to do it. Donald Trump didn't make America great. He's not going to make America great again. Only the hand of Jesus can do that. And only a mass repentance, millions of Americans repenting and turning to Jesus. That's the only thing. 2 Chronicles 7:14, my people are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and repent and seek my face, then I will hear from heaven, forgive their sins, and heal their land. It's worse than you thought it would be. You were warned and told that perilous times were coming, but this is worse than you thought it would be. Many of you have ignored the truth, and now it's worse than you thought it would be. Say that 3 times. At this point, tears began to come down his face and got strong enough Daddy put his hands in his face for a moment. He composed himself and looked at the camera again, spoke further while the tears continued. Don't leave your first love. See, that's what America's done. We were a Christian nation. We have left our first love. Don't leave your first love. Do not fear what you're about to suffer. He didn't say what you're about to go through. He said what you're about to suffer. What are we about to suffer? Well, right now, the biggest thing is financial, one, followed by food shortage. So what he's saying here is financial and food shortage, really. And which, by the way, I can tell you right now, the cheapest long-term storage food that you can get is at josephskitchen.com. We have told you many times. By the way, if you haven't got some gold or silver, if you not made preparations, he told you, he's warned you. If you sit there and listen to this program as entertainment, okay, move on, Stan. Don't leave your first love. Do not fear what you're about to suffer. Stay repentant and in the center of the wheel. Now, I think he meant to say the center of his will, but either way, it's saying the same thing. Overcome. Walk through the open door. Stay disciplined. I will be beside you during the persecution and the pain. Persecution and the pain. Now, the interesting thing is, I think it's funny how God speaks to Maurice Sklar the same sort of things, and Maurice is a pre-tribber. He's speaking to Dana Coverstone. I love both of them. We talked to him. I love both of them, but they're both pre-tribbers. But they're not seeing. I mean, Maurice Sklar said, well, people have asked me, how can you stay pre-trib when you see what God is speaking through you? Because what he's saying through you is not pre-trib. So when he's saying, I'm going to be beside you during the persecution and the pain, he just said there ain't no pre-trib rapture. At this, tears streamed down his face. He hit the desk with an amplified drip, reminding me of the tear in the Passion. Many will say that it is worse than they thought it would be, and they will be right. That's the fourth time. So, remain hard-braced and battle-ready. I am coming, and my reward is with me, and I am with you always as far as to your end. Those are the hard facts in the news as I am reporting it to you in living color. I turned the TV off, looked at my kids, and now appear to be their age today. They each had aged about 10 to 12 years during this time. Now, my suspicion is that he's saying that this is the end times. He may be saying we have another 10 to 12 years before this thing's all over. I hope we have that much time. My wife and I joined in a circle, and we began to pray for boldness and strength. When there was a knock at the door, without fear, we opened to see several families crying and distraught. And you're about to have the same thing happen to you. Are you ready? Not just for yourself, but do you have food, water, and other things for your neighborhood? Because when they see your lights on, they see you got food, they're going to come knocking. And that's the time you want to say, come on in. We can help you. They asked if we could help them understand what's going on, and they invited them into our home. Yep, and I'm going to say, we got food, we got heat, we got water, and we also have a Bible study. And the rule number one is I'm the boss. Rule number two is you got to attend the Bible study. I don't care who your God is now. You got to come to my Bible study to stay in my house. When the door shut, the noise from the outside stopped, and a little girl, one of the family, said, I feel better in here than I did out there. It was then that I woke up. Now, I've got other things, but I'm going to pause for just a second. I'm going to bring up, and I'm going to put here in the PowerPoint that a dream of Leslie. Oh, man, it's too late. Yeah, it's too late. All right, so I'll put it in the program tomorrow. I think I will try. Okay, so get yourself prepared. Let's talk about Joseph's Kitchen. I actually cooked this loaf of bread you're seeing here. Takes me about 10 minutes to put the ingredients together, put it into a bread machine, push a button, 2 hours, 20 minutes later, I get a loaf of bread out like that. Now, if you cut that loaf of bread that weighs about 3 pounds, the loaves you get in the store have most of the good stuff removed. The loaves you get in the store are about a pound. That's 3 pounds because it's got the good stuff still in it. Cut that into 14 slices, and if I eat a slice in the morning and the afternoon, I'm satisfied. So on that basis, one loaf can sustain, I didn't say it's everything we want, can sustain one person for a week. Based upon that, it'll get you excellent nutrition. It tastes good, long storage life, 10 minutes to combine the ingredients, 2 hours, 20 minutes to make it. Other wheat that you order arrives in paper bags, which means bugs, rice, humidity can get a hold of it and ruin it. But at Joseph's Kitchen, they send it out in 100 mil thick buckets. Gives you long shelf life. It's stackable. There's some nitrogen infuses that hopefully gives it much longer shelf life, kills bugs and things like that. Easily resealable, keep in a climate-controlled area. And they have it in stock. This is a picture, an actual picture of part of the warehouse. Here's another picture of these. Actually, each one of those boxes holds 2,500 pounds of wheat. And I think they've got 54 of those boxes, a bunch of them. So Joseph's Kitchen can ship it to you right now. You go to most of these places, they say out of stock. So here's what you want to do. Everybody needs to get a machine package. These are the things that you need to grind the wheat berries. Put them into a grinder. 30 seconds later, you have flour. You put that into the bread machine along with 6 other ingredients. Push about 2 hours, 20 minutes later, you have a nice hot loaf of whole wheat bread. Then you have to decide how much food you want. You want food 2 people 1 year, 4 people 1 year, 6 people 1 year. And if you want to make certain you have it when the electricity goes down, you can also get yourself a solar generator, all at josephskitchen.com. josephskitchen.com. Next is, I'll send you to EMPShield.com. If you use the promo word prophecy, you get a $50 discount. What is that? Well, it looks like this. This is the one that goes into a car, okay? And you put the red wire to the red side of the battery, you put the black wire to the black side of the battery, and the green one attaches to the body of the car. Then you peel it off right back here. Just peel that off, stick it inside of the engine compartment of your car. And the whole point is when the electricity goes off or when some kind of a suitcase nuclear device goes off, this is supposed to be able to stop that device from destroying every computer chip in your car. Because if every computer chip is destroyed in your car these days, you couldn't possibly replace them all. Throw the car away. So, EMPShield.com, promo code prophecy. Leslie Johnson had a prophecy back in 2011. She says, the Lord says there's going to be something put into the water supply in many cities of the nation. People will begin to get sick, some will die. Get a good, reliable water filter. You will not be able to trust the tap water or the bottled water. You must get something to filter the water you are going to need. That's back in 2011. So if you want it, we suggest you go to prophecyclub.com. You click right here where it says Berkeys. This is what it looks like. Currently, all Berkeys are in stock. The one I have is this guy right here. It's the Crown. It has 8 filters. I recommend you get as much as you can afford and also recommend you get some extra filters. That's at prophecyclub.com.